Hello, everyone. If I look a bit swollen today, it's because the pollen this spring is just absolutely destroying me. But there are more important things to talk about, and Barcelona end up tying their first leg against Inter 3-3. There are a lot of positives to take from this game from Barcelona. There's definitely a lot of negatives, and they just have to be discussed here because they are very close to a UCL final if they play their cards right against Inter in the second leg. Now, the whole storyline going into this game was Barca had all the backing of momentum behind them. Inter didn't. People are questioning whether Thuram and Dumfries would even be available for Inter in this game. Both of them, especially Thuram, managed to just make it for this game and be able to start. And then, of course, for Barcelona, everyone knew Lewandowski wouldn't be able to make it. Balde was a bit iffy, but he actually couldn't make it. And that's probably what made the game out to be how it did. And we take a look at the stats of the game here. In general, we'll take a look at it half by half. But in the first half, it was all Barcelona. I don't think the XG tells a story of Barcelona's performance because it's going to be hard to generate a lot of XG or big chances against a team like Inter who just puts at least 7 or 8 players in their own box. But the chances that Barcelona did have and the shot that they did take that weren't considered big chances and they didn't have a high XG backing behind them, they were actually pretty good chances that should have been scored a bit more, in my opinion. But in the first half, yeah, Barcelona dominant, and then of course the second half was a bit more of Inter. But in general, it was a lot of back and forth, and of course Barca dominated the possession. Of course, that's always going to happen. But the game started 1-0 Inter in the 30th second. Now, we see over here Denzel Dumfries, 2 goals and an assist. He was injured for a month and a half. He comes back into this game, barely makes it, and then he instantly has a 3-course Michelin star meal because Balde's out there. Now, if Balde was there, I guarantee you Dumfries that first goal doesn't happen. He's not involved in that first goal because he receives the ball, and Balde will be able to recover categorically faster than Martin and whatever he was trying to do. And also possibly Balde would have been positioned better to even defend that through ball anyways. So the loss to Balde has proven now for sure of how big it is. He's not only important to the system because he is the only player on the left side of the pitch holding that width, but as a left back, he is so much better defensively. He is so much better going forward than Martin. And then, of course, he has the physical ability to back that with his strength and then, of course, his pace. But once that goal happened, Barcelona woke up. That's all it took, the first goal. It shouldn't have been a goal to wake them up, but it did. It was that first goal that woke them up. And from that moment up until really halftime, it was all Barcelona. They couldn't really get a goal. They had some very good chances to score before the 20th minute. Then in the 20th minute, Inter won a corner, and they capitalized off of it. Now, this is how Inter plays. They're not interested in playing football. If anything, they're interested in disrupting the football being played and then scoring corners and stuff like that. Inter are built to play a foot champs game on FIFA Ultimate Team. That's how their squad is built. That's how they're set up, and that's how they've managed to even reach this far in the UCL this season, last season, the final in 2023. This is how they play. And you take a look at the squad: Bastoni, Acerbi, Bisek, Dumfries, Thuram, even Taremi when he came in for the injured Lautaro Martinez. This team they have over 6 or 7 players that are over 6 foot tall. Now in corners, that is no joke. That's a real threat on corners. And I think an important thing to note is that Lewandowski's injury has hurt with that. Not only in the attacking department, we take a look at Barcelona, how they've actually played in the last few games. When Barca haven't been able to generate a chance, they just start spamming these back post crosses for no reason. Ferran Torres is not going to be able to win that ball, especially against 10 6-foot defenders that Inter has. It's just not going to happen. And Lewandowski, at the very least, would actually have the chance of doing that. But then also defensively, there have been so many times this season where in defensive corner situations for Barcelona, Lewandowski's been the one who's cleared the ball out. He is very important in defending corners, and now that he hasn't been here, we've seen it. Real Madrid scored from a corner to make it 2-1, and then of course Inter scored 2 goals off the corner situations. Inter, by the way, they've scored 5 goals in their last 2 UCL games: 3 against Barcelona, 2 against Bayern. Of those 5 goals, 4 of them came from direct corner situations. Now, yes, this is our play style, but it's got to be countered better. Barca had to do better yesterday in defending the set pieces, and also in general, yes, the defending wasn't really good in the corners, but Chesney wasn't too great yesterday. I have to say it. Of course, we're not going to be he's bad, because he's been insane this season. But yesterday he wasn't too great, and especially in the corner situations, he couldn't command his box the way he should have. And yes, that's partially because the defense has to do better in marking the tall players. But there was moments where he could have come out better, especially for that third goal that Dumfries scored from the corner in the second half. If he was stronger with the way he came out, maybe he could have punched the ball out, or just at least not have been caught out with the net being open. Of course, we have to talk about Yamal in that first half. Once Dumfries made it 2-0, of course, then it completely switched to Barcelona. Yamal with an unbelievable goal to get Barca back in the game, and this is a skill level. I mean, he knows how to get past players. He's starting to get better at his body positioning when taking shots, and this is his skill level. Like I said, he knows this is a footballer. This is a generational talent, and he's proven it now yesterday with what he did and his performance. And of course, right after that happened, he had another chance where he absolutely fried DiMarco, hit the crossbar from a ridiculous angle. That was unfortunate, and that's also typical Inter. They're going to concede so many shots that so many of them hit the post, and they're just so fortunate to be able to even get out of these games with results that they'd be happy with. Of course, then Barca keep attacking. A great play, a great back post ball from Pedri, where the defense of Inter was caught out. Rafinha with a very smart header across the box, and Ferran there for the tap in. A great play overall. Barca 2-2 going into halftime. All the momentum behind them, and then of course, everyone's expecting for Barca to make the comeback. Second half starts. Now, what were the changes in the second half? Barca didn't change much, except for Inigo Martinez going to left back, Gerard Martin being subbed out for Araujo to try and counter Thuram's impact. Thuram was very good in that game. He was their main man up top. Even Lautaro, before the injury, he wasn't too good, but it was Thuram who was their main target man up top, and making the things happen, allowing Inter to actually build up when they were after sitting back for every 5 to 10 minute period. And then of course it was Inter at halftime that switched the tactic up. They put 3 players on Yamal, and it has to be said that Yamal's second half wasn't that great. He was a bit more isolated. He couldn't be more as involved as he wanted to, and we saw it with how Inter defended him yesterday in the second half. And then of course another corner situation, Inter started putting on pressure, and then that's where the third goal came from Dumfries, and it was just once again poor defending from the corner. It should have never happened, but it is what it is. And of course, Inter take the lead 3-2. Then instantly Barca go attacking. This is the positive of this team this year. When they're behind, their mentality is ridiculous. And I guess this is a trade-off with Hansi Flick's system. Yes, you'll concede a lot of goals, but you'll also score a lot of goals, because when you have this system with such players that have so much ability, so you have the technical ability of Yamal and Pedri and Olmo, and you have the capitalization ability of situations of, for example, Rafinha. And what happened was another corner for Barca happened. It was a pass at the top of the box from Olmo. Yamal dominated it, and Rafinha absolutely laser beamed the shot into the basically to the top of the net. It was a fingertip save from Sommer that allowed the ball to hit the crossbar, hit back off Sommer's back, and it went in. It would have been great if Sommer just didn't get a touch on it with his absolute fingernail, and then it would have counted as Rafinha's goal. But it is what it is, and Barca back 3-3. And after that, it was really just back and forth. Barca couldn't really grab the game by the scruff of the neck. Inter was getting their chances. They were a bit more threatening, especially with Dumfries out wide, especially with when they put in Carlos Augusto from the bench in for DiMarco. And of course, Taremian was also another tall player that they had, and that's why Araujo was put in to counter that. And yeah, I mean, the specific negatives. I mean, it's a shame that Kunde got injured. Now he's going to be missing that next leg. He's probably going to miss the Clasico against Madrid as well, and he's expected to be out for 3 weeks. It's a shame, but Eric Garcia did well. I think Barca's right back options are better than their left back options to compensate, and I'd rather have Balde for this next leg rather than Kunde, because I think Balde playing on the left wing is more important because of the width that he holds. Of course, on the right side, Yamal holds that width. Of course, Fedmin was on the bench. He came off. He came out and he did well. Gavi did well. Christensen, which I was surprised about. I did not think he would ever play again for Barca. He came on and actually had a decent game considering he didn't play for Barca the whole season. I don't know what injury he had, but he was out. He came on. He had some good actions defensively and passing wise. And then of course, what I want to talk about is Pedri. Very, very good. The orchestrator. Everything goes through him. He is so good. I mean, you talk about his performance. Look, 95% accuracy, and that's with 87 passes completed, 92 passes attempted, 2 key passes, 9 out of 9 long balls accurate, 1 out of 1 dribble, and then of course 6 out of 8 ground duels won. So he was just very, very good. De Jong did well, of course, as well yesterday. He did well. He wasn't as good as Pedri, but he also did very well to be part of the build-up and try and block some transitions. But it's a shame that Dani Olmo couldn't really impose himself, and it was similar against Real Madrid. He couldn't impose himself because I guess the physicality of the game or the way he was being marked. But I don't think it has to do with his ability of imposing himself. We saw Olmo's body of work, especially against defenses with strong defenders and big defenders, is there. I mean, we've seen it against what he's done against Bayern when he played for Leipzig in the Bundesliga. Bayern had strong defenders. I mean, De Ligt was strong. Yet they had Upamecano. That's a strong defense. They've had Goretzka. He had to play against, and he did very well against them. And we saw what he did against in the Euro Cup for Spain. I mean, against England. England have a lot of big bodies. He was very good in that game, especially against France. France have a lot of big bodies. It's a very similar case here. France with Inter, a lot of big bodies. They have Upamecano. They have Chouameni. They have a bunch of big bodies that Olmo managed to capitalize on, and it was just a shame that he couldn't do it this season in the big games. Now he still has a chance to do it next leg if he starts, or even off the bench, and he has a chance to do it if possibly Barca reach the final. But I would have liked for him to impose himself more. He didn't play bad by any means. It wasn't woeful, but he just didn't impose himself the way I wanted him to, especially because of the ability I know he has. If he imposed himself, I know Barca would have scored more because he would have been able to rate and get into situations where he could have scored more. We talk about the chance that he got through. He had a chance in the first half where he got through like 4 players, and he managed to somehow squeeze the ball through, and he managed to get a shot off. He couldn't finish it, but it was just to play his intelligence there, and that's I know his skill set. He just has to impose himself more. His body of work is no joke. He has to be a bit more consistent with it in the big games for Barcelona, and hopefully does that soon. Hopefully does that next week. But of course, we have to talk about the last few things here. So Balde is expected to start next week against Inter, of course. And then, of course, they're expecting Lewandowski to be on the bench against Inter, but it's still a bit shaky and iffy with him. But the main thing is Balde being there. If Balde is there, if he doesn't feel, fatigued, if he doesn't feel not 100%, he will be absolutely massive. Of course, Kunde will be out. And in general, I think Barca have good chances of going through. They have to do better defensively and maybe take one or two more chances. But other than that, overall, they played a good game. They just suffered the consequences of not having Balde and just being too aggressive in the attack, and possibly not having that good of a transition defense structure. But overall, listen, this is a UCL semifinal. A draw is always possible, and that was the case today. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Game against Valladolid on Saturday. Hopefully, Barca just rotates, gets the job done, gets the 3 points, and continues with their league campaign, because they're the front runners for that as well. The treble is still on, of course, but yes, like I said, let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next video.